What's up, everyone? It's Kenneth from Rare Candy, and joining me today we have the second place finalist from the Oaks, Pennsylvania Regionals this last weekend, Rukan Shao, who piloted the now infamous gas can deck. How's it going, man?
Good.
Hey, that's awesome. And while we'll be going over your tournament experience here in a second, I wanted to ask you how you felt about the new standard format coming into this tournament.
I loved and hated it. So obviously I dislike that the format feels a lot less consistent, just as everyone else. But I do appreciate that every time a new format comes out, a lot of my opponents don't really know how to optimize their decks. And, you know, I definitely feel like I'm more of a deck builder than someone who's really good at piloting decks. And I feel like that gives me an advantage, and I appreciate that.
Okay, yeah, and what would you say led you to decide on the deck that you played?
So a number of things. First, the format's inconsistent, so I wanted a consistent list. To evaluate how consistent the deck was, I just played a lot of games on PTCGO, because like even if your opponents are bad, your win rate still gives you an indication of how frequently you just set up and execute your game plan. And as it turns out, Psychic Malamar just dominated on that front over even Zoroark variants. I took like I believe like about 28 wins out of 30 games with Psychic Malamar, and Zoroark was taking maybe like a 65% win rate in comparison, so like 20 out of 30.
Wow.
Just the crazy amount of ball search I included in my Psychic Malamar deck was just letting me just set up into like a scenario where I could beat the average bad ladder player a lot more often. Whereas Zoroark, you know, the losing Bridget, losing Sycamore, losing Evo Soda, that just really hurt, and Zoroark just didn't feel as consistent as it used to be, and I was just losing a lot of games because I just couldn't get my Zoroarks out. And I just, in comparison, I wasn't having that issue of Psychic Malamar, it was just getting me there.
Okay.
And the second reason, I did say I had a few reasons. The second one is Dawn Wings and the Necrozma GX. Without N in the format, it's really important to be able to take wins from behind. Something like Zoroark doesn't feel like you can do that against like a Rayquaza deck, whereas Psychic Malamar, you can just, your opponent Steven's resolved and takes the first prize, you can just look them in the face and say, I don't care, I win anyways. I really appreciate that. Because, you know, no matter how consistent you build your deck, you're going to fall behind in some games, so you want to have a deck that can win from behind, and Malamar is one of the very few decks that can do that right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so those are the two main reasons. I mean, I always had a slight bias in my heart. I love Malamar. I think just always getting your energies back makes the deck incredibly robust and hard for someone to build the tech against, short of Parallel City, obviously. You know, it did get wrecked last format, but yeah, that's about it. That's why I picked Psychic Malamar.
Hey, it's as good a reason as any. So go ahead and walk me through day one. What were some of your matchups as you played through the main event?
All right, so my first round of the day was against Delmai's Vikavolt Shrines, and that was a tough matchup, and I ended up tying it. I lost the first game, I didn't set up very quickly, plus the deck's just inherently hard for my deck to deal with. My Deoxys does not hit 130 against Delmai's, and because my opponent plays Shrines and I don't play a counter stadium, I can't really bench a GX to leverage a one-hit knockout. So that first game turned into a loss quite quickly, and I got checkmated. I mean, I kept up in the prize race, sort of, but at the end of the day, he took the prize lead, and without being able to Moon's Eclipse effectively due to Shrine, I wasn't able to mount the comeback that I just literally just bragged about. The second game, you know, my list is very consistent, and my opponent's playing a Vikavolt deck that doesn't have Tempest GX, so I sniped his Vikavolt, and then I won. So that's how that went. Third game, I sniped his Vikavolt. He had just one Delmai's left, but I don't really have an efficient way to blow up Delmai's, so you know the game just went to time. There was no way for me to take the last. I mean, I still had to take 5 prizes when time was called, and that's just impossible.
Yeah.
So that's how that game went. I honestly, that whole day was a haze. I think I played 3 Vikavolt decks on day 1. At least 1 Rayquaza, at least 1 Bulu. I'm not counting the Delmai's Vikavolt deck. I mean, I think I played either 2 Vikabulus and 1 Vikaray, or like 2 Vikaray and 1 Vikabulu. I honestly don't remember. Once again, those matchups are very easy. Both Bulu and Rayquaza have 180 HP, putting them in perfect range of Moon's Eclipse GX, meaning even if I let them set up, they typically just lose anyways. So that's just how my Vikavolt matches went on day 1. All of them were just easy auto wins. My final match of the day was a Magnezone deck, and I have a Mimikyu, so that matchup basically went the same way. I couldn't use Moon's Eclipse because Duskmane Necrozma GX has 190 HP, but that's what the Mimikyu is there for. Against something like Ultra Necrozma or Duskmane, where you cannot rely on Moon's Eclipse to come back from behind, you are at least able to leverage Mimikyu to mount that comeback. What else? I played against a Zoroark Golisopod deck in my second round. The first game was a stomp. My Psychic Malamar deck did exactly what it wanted to, and as expected, Zoroark's just not quite as consistent at setting up at Psychic Malamar. So I got set up, I took a knockout, and then I took another knockout, and then I took another knockout, and it's just, once you knock out the first Zoroark GX, you just snowball your advantage so hard that it's very, very, very difficult for Zoroark to come back. The second game went differently. Of course, my opponent went first. He got the turn 2 knockout Inkay. I got turn 2, draw pass. He got turn 3 Guzma, another Inkay. I got turn 2 manually attach a second time, and then I psychic his Golisopod for 40. Busted, right?
Yeah, busted.
Turn 3, 40 damage, so busted. But, this is where my list's high ball search count really shined. I drew into a Rescue Stretcher, and I just had a lot of balls in hand. So I just Rescue Stretcher the Inkays back into the deck, and then just immediately friend balled Mysterious Treasure, or something like that, 2 back on board. Now I have 4 Inkays back on board. He just spent 2 turns doing, essentially nothing. And then I Cynthia, I get, 2 Malamars out and manually attached to Marshadow GX. And then since the Golisopod has 40 damage on it, I can Moon's Eclipse it for a knockout. And I only have Inkays and Malamars on my bench. And I have 4 of them. So, sure, he Guzma KOs 1 of them. But that does nothing to my board state, because I still have a 3 energy Marshadow GX in the active. And still, I develop 3 Malamars back up on the next turn, and my opponent has put himself in a 7 prize scenario. So what happens from there is he has a Zoroark in the active, my Malamar in the active still has 3 energies, so it knocks out a Zoroark, and then simultaneously on that turn I attach, using Psychic Recharge, 3 energies to a Necrozma GX. And I have 2 prizes remaining, my opponent still has 3 prizes remaining. That's just a checkmate scenario. There's no way he can come back from that at all, and it just shows you just how powerful Psychic Malamar's comeback potential is. You can go up against a Zoroark Golisopod deck, you can do 40 damage in your first 3 turns, lose 2 prizes that are both critical Inkays that you need to win the game, and then you can just mount a comeback because you have Rescue Stretchers, you have so many Ball Search cards, and then you have the ever-crucial Moon's Eclipse. So that, I thought, was a very, very powerful showing by my deck, and it did exactly what I wanted it to, and I think that's exactly why Zoroark Golisopod's failing right now. It doesn't have the sheer aggression that Lycanroc has. If it were Lycanroc, he could have gusted with Bloodthirsty Eyes and then Cynthia or Lily to keep drawing and keep setting up. But instead, he had to spend 2 Guzmas on his first turns, and that crippled him, and then he doesn't run Sudowoodo or Deoxys like some of the more successful, or even Weakness Policy like some of the more successful Zoroark lists. So that list just sort of crumpled under the pressure of Psychic Malamar. And I think it clearly shows that you really need a lot of techs in Zoroark to just beat Psychic Malamar. You can't just say you are Zoroark, therefore you beat Psychic Malamar. Not anymore. Around game 5, I believe, I took my first actual loss of the day to Zoroark Lycanroc. Round 1, my opponent gets a slow setup. So he started Baby Buzzwole, so I'm like, it's probably a Shrine deck if it started Baby Buzzwole. So I Mysterious Treasure away my Necrozma GX, I bench a Dawnwings Necrozma, and I attach an energy to it. He goes to his turn, he plays a Nest Ball, and he gets a Zorua, and I just facepalm a little.
Yeah.
But he gets a slow setup, and I have an energy in hand, I just need either to get an energy and discard, or get a Mysterious Treasure or an Ultra Ball to put it in discard. Then I can attack with Dunaway's Necrozma, and I can take out his 1 energy Rockruff, and then like he has 1 Zoro on board. If he revolves, knocks it out, then I send him a Marshadow, I Moon's Eclipse it, bida bang, bida bomb, bada boom, and I would beat him, right? So I Acro Bike and I miss energy and Mysterious Treasure and Ultra Ball, and then I Acro Bike and I miss energy and Mysterious Treasure and Ultra Ball, and then I play Cynthia and I miss energy, Mysterious Treasure and an Ultra Ball, and then next turn I play Cynthia again and I miss energy and Mysterious Treasure and Ultra Ball, and then I just sort of lose. I don't think that was a typical showing for my deck. Typically, I think if I look at like 2 Acro Bikes and 2 Cynthias, I'll probably find a way to get energy in this card, but it just didn't happen that game. And then is the breaks. I went on to game 2. I went first. I set up. I knocked out a Zoroark, then knocked out a Zoroark, and then knocked out a Zoroark. And that's just sort of how these games go against Zoroark, Lycanroc. Either I set up very efficiently as a Psychic Malamar deck, and I do that, and I knock out a Zoroark, I snowball that advantage into my favor. Likewise, if they go first, they get the DCE, Bloodthirsty Eyes, knock out a Malamar, they can snowball that advantage into their favor. And then the last game, I just didn't set up quickly. I went second, didn't set up quickly, and Zoroark, Lycanroc does its thing. Just Gust, kill a Malamar, Gust, kill a Malamar, and then that's just how the game goes. I don't think there's a tech I can really include that significantly swings that matchup, in my opinion. I think the best way to just go about that matchup is to set up quick and just kick your opponent in the teeth, and when he's down, you kick him in again and kick him again. And I built my list to do that as consistently as possible. So it just didn't do that on day 1. I did end up beating a Zoroark in day 2, so the deck definitely gets there. I think against a unteched Zoroark Lycanroc deck, and I do think most of the Philadelphia lists were not teched for Psychic Malamar. Against an unteched one, I think you go 50-50. Against a teched one, such as Poet Larson, who ran a Sudowoodo, I think you go slightly unfavored, but I tested against Poet Larson the night before and I 2-0'd him, and so you definitely can win, but I 2-0'd him before he added the Sudowoodo, so the Sudowoodo is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And then what else am I missing? That's like 3 Vikavolt, 4 Vikavolt, a Magnezone, that's 5 decks, Zoroark, Zoropod. I played a Gardevoir Sylveon deck. That's normally a very favored matchup. My opponent started turn 1 with Sylveon. He got like Guzma KO on a Malamar, and then I looked through my deck, and I prized 2 Malamar, 1 Rescue Stretcher, and before I did my deck search, I played an Acro Bike, and I discarded a Rescue Stretcher, so I had 1 Malamar for the entire game, and then he Guzma KO'd that, and then I just lost. It was very unfortunate.
Yeah.
But then, game 2, game 3, he's playing a Gardevoir deck, I'm playing a Psychic Malamar deck. I just win. So this is a pretty straightforward matchup from there. And I feel like I'm missing something, but I'll just conclude it there. Those were all the interesting matchups. Those were all the ones that really stuck in my mind for day 1.
Okay, so what was your record going into day 2?
7-1-1, taking that tie to the Dalmais deck, and 1 loss to Zoroark Lycanroc.
Okay. So once you made day 2, I imagine you were feeling pretty good about yourself.
Oh, yeah.
But did you think that it would carry you this deep into the tournament day 2? Like, what were some of the decks in day 2 you really didn't want to get paired against?
I really didn't want to get paired against any of the Zoroark decks. That was basically it. I looked through the list, maybe like a quarter of the decks were Zoroark decks. So I was actually feeling pretty good. I feel like I had dodged all the weird rogue stuff that might have given me trouble. And I entered a meta that I more or less expected and had built my deck towards. The Buzz Shrines, the Vikavolt, the Ultra Malamars, the Malamar Shrine decks, and then just a few Zoroarks. And I'm not that scared of Zoroark Lycanroc. I got paired against one in day 2. And I beat it. I mean, there's a few bad. Like, I didn't want to run into Poet Larson. I didn't want to run into Xander Perot because, Banette's a pain for my deck to deal with. And, Poet had the Sudowoodo tech, which is also very good against my deck. But against everyone else that was running Zoroark, I did not expect him to tech against me because, I told Poet Larson about my list. So, of course, slaps in a Sudowoodo because it's good against my deck and it's good against Shrine deck. So, why wouldn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I felt very good going into day 2. Not only that, like I gave this exact 60 to Ryan Bruckner, one of our teammates, and he went 7-0 at the start of day 2, and then he lost 2 games at the end. Very unfortunate, but like the fact that he went 7-2, he literally didn't play test the deck. I gave it to him like at midnight the night before, and it's just like he sleeved it up and he played it. He had no experience. The deck is just so powerful, so simple, so straightforward. It's just amazing.
Now, you know, we got to talk about this. We all saw how heartbreaking of a finals match it was.
Yeah.
Now, would you care to talk about what exactly happened now that you've kind of had a couple days to collect yourself?
Well, the biggest thing was, you know, I was streamed once prior to Philadelphia Regionals, and at that stream, I also double attached against Ian Robb at Hartford, and, you know, they caught it, the judge caught it, and it put me in a scenario where I just couldn't win, right? I made plays assuming that I hadn't double attached, and then I got a Pokemon stranded in the active, and now I can't attach an energy to it, and it can't attack. It was just horrible. It was just a horrible, horrible feeling to have, a horrible way to lose. And, you know, since then I developed a lot of practices to improve myself and just be better at that. And so when I went into the finals, I felt very, very confident. I tried to loosen up. I did some stretches. I walked around a bit. I just tried to calm down. In hindsight, I think that might have been a mistake. You know, every other tournament I went in, I was high on adrenaline. I was really focused. I was ready to just, you know, I had thought out my game plan before, whereas against Caleb, it's like, oh, this is just a shrine deck. Oh, who takes the first prize just wins, and then maybe I can, like, leverage a Mag Cargo KO to stall him out in the late game. I underestimated the matchup. I just took it for granted. I assumed I had enough skill, and I let myself relax too much. So when I relaxed too much, I made the first mistake. I treasured, then I forgot to shuffle my deck after the treasure, and then I lilied. And once that happened, everything just sort of crumbled apart, because I just immediately thought to myself, this is just Hartford all over again. And I psyched myself out. I thought I was going to lose the entire series. I kept thinking to myself, shit, I don't mind losing, but I don't want to lose in a humiliating way. And that's exactly what happened. I knew it was happening, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And since I was just focused on that, I didn't make the right plays. I double attached game 2, leading to a double prize penalty in the final game. In the final game, I drew 2 cards off of Filch. I put them next to my deck because my mindset was, okay, I made the mistake of looking at, like, I drew the Lily, but if I had not looked at the Lily, I would have at least been in a position where my mistake was reversible, and I probably wouldn't have gotten a double prize penalty. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to play it safe. I'm going to take the 2 cards off top of my deck. I'm not even going to look at them. I'm just going to put them right next to my deck and just leave them there. Come back to my turn. I had completely forgot I did that.
You just forgot they were there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought I was being super clever. Big brains. Okay, I'm not going to get another error from, like, accidentally looking at my cards. I'm just not going to look at them. Perfect. Genius. So I draw my card for turn. I make my plays, and then I realize, oh, shit, I have 2 cards next to my deck. I look at them. One of them is a Psychic Energy, and I had an Ultra Ball in hand. I could have discarded that Psychic Energy, attached the other Psychic Energy I had in hand, and then, you know, Guzma Power Blasted anything on my opponent's board. And if I didn't have that, if I didn't have the double prize penalty, I would have been ahead on the prize race. I would have crippled Caleb's board, and I probably would have been able to win from there, barring, like, I even had a Cynthia in hand, so barring I just completely dead drew off the Cynthia, that probably was a win. So, you know, feels bad, man, feels bad. But that's just sort of how it went down. It's completely my fault in hindsight. I mean, in the middle of the tournament, and even now, I probably deserved that loss. It's just, you know, lessons learned. Don't try to get too clever with not letting yourself make mistakes. Someone in the chat said, okay, maybe if he ran neon pink sleeves, he wouldn't have noticed, he wouldn't have, like, missed those cards, because I had green sleeves on a green mat. And, you know, just don't let loose. I mean, I'm not talking about the building. Don't loosen up before the event, right? I tried to do stretches. That was not the way to go. I needed to just stay focused. I needed to stay tense, because because I think that's just how I perform best, and I just assume that, you know, everyone's saying, like, take a break, get some food, get some caffeine. Like no, I'll just stretch. That's good enough for me. That's not a good idea. I don't think, not in hindsight.
Right. So at the end of the day, you got second place with the gas can. And moving forward, would you make any changes to your list?
So this list was 100% perfect for Philadelphia. I don't think any card was... I mean, I consider Pokemon the tech cards. I would not add anything, because I don't think anything would have been worth a slot. I don't think anything would have been better than a Friend Ball, right? And simultaneously, every single card contributed to victory. The Marshadows let me hit big numbers against Metagross. The Marshadows let me blow up Zoroark's for weakness. The Deoxys beat the Shrine matchups. The Dawnwings gave me comebacks. Mimikyu helped out against Bulu, Duskmane, and Ultra Necrozma, so that's like 5 matchups it helped me against. And then the Necrozma, you know, I need that for the Metagross matchup, and I need that for the Rayquaza matchup, so that's there for like 10 matchups. There's literally not a single Pokemon you can cut, and simultaneously, you know, I only lost 3 games that day, so I can't really go back and say, oh, I should have added this tech card. No, I beat everything. Everything I had was there. The rest of the deck was optimized to maximum consistency, so that was just flawless. But going into the future, it just depends on how people tech things out. If people start running Sudowoodo, I don't know. I'm not sure there's a way to tech against Sudowoodo. Like I used to have the Anti-Prism Star, and then I cut it because it's so hard to use against Sudowoodo. But like I already cut the Anti-Prism Star for this list. That's a hard question. I don't know what other people are going to do and how they're planning to tech against this. I do expect them to tech against this. I expect Sudowoodos and I expect Deoxys, but I don't think there's anything I can really do to counteract that without dramatically lowering consistency. Right. So, for the time being, I'm going to say I probably would not change a single card, even going into the future, even if people start teching against this. And the reason is, like, every tech Pokemon you put in, it cuts a Friend Ball, right? Because that's the most cuttable card in the deck. The thing is, every tech card you add makes you want Ball Search more, because you want to be able to get that out of your deck and then thin it. Or like, just get rid of it with Ultra Ball in matchups that you don't want it. So there's like this big tug and pull, right? Every tech card you add makes you want to add more Ball Search to deal with that extra tech card. But, you know, you have to cut Ball Search to put it in. So it's like, I feel like even adding 1 tech card to this list would hurt so much. Oh, but one thing. Since Psychic Malamar, as it is right now, it does so well. It just smashes the other helmet decks. Vikavolt, Magnezone, even Metagross, and it doesn't smash Ultra Necrozma without Mimikyu, but that one exception aside, if we see dramatically reduced play in Vikavolt and Magnezone and Vikabulu or decks like that, I could see Mimikyu getting cut, because that's the main reason you run it, aside from the Ultra Necrozma matchup. And I could see that being cut for a 3rd Deoxys, just to patch up the Buzzwole matchup, especially now that Caleb came out and just topped the regional with a Weavile version, Buzzwole, Garb, Weavile. Deoxys is the only card that knocks out Weavile as a 1-prizer. It's not like the straight Buzz Garbodor matchup where you can attack with Malamar. So a 3rd Deoxys would definitely help a lot. I think that's the only card I would consider adding as a tech. Whether Mimikyu stays depends on how the meta changes, whether Ultra Necrozma remains popular given how Buzzgarb Shrine just won, and whether Vikavolt and Magnezone remain popular given how I place 2nd with Psychic Malamar and how Psychic Malamar just autos those matchups.
Okay. So, are you going to Memphis?
I have no idea. My team's trying to convince me, but I am honestly kind of exhausted right now. I told them I would check flights tonight. I haven't done that yet. I'll probably get to that. I mean, flight prices go up for registration on the 22nd, so I'll probably make a decision soon. But yeah, we'll see. The thing is, I can't really go to internationals very conveniently because of my job. You know, they have to give me a security briefing every single time, so that's just a huge hassle. Plus, I only have so much PTO, and yeah.
Of course, life comes first.
Yeah. So since I don't go to internats, you know, top 16 for Worlds is basically out of reach. I do have a very unique opportunity right now to chase top 16 for the quarter, and I would do that to get a stipend in order to go to Australia, and I wouldn't mind going to 1 internationals in the year, even if I can't make all 3, and it would be a lot of fun. But in my mind,
yeah, I heard Australia was a lot of fun last year. I really wish I could have gone, but I just could not afford it.
Yeah, but yeah, the issue in my mind is if I'm going, I'm gonna get like 3 things out of it. A, I'm getting a play, which, you know, if I have to burn myself out before I go there, maybe I won't even want to go by the time like I get enough CP to lock in my top 16 for the quarter. I get money, which is for the stipend, which I guess covers my travel expenses, and then I get a chance to make some money, but, you know, that's a gamble. I mean, my track record, despite winning 2nd place at Philadelphia, my track record is actually pretty horrible. Prior to Philadelphia, I went X4, X4, X3, and then, you know, I dropped out of Nashville Open without earning any points. So I've definitely got a lot to learn. I don't know if I'm in a position where I can comfortably say, I'm going to make money if I go to Australian internats. And lastly, since I'm not chasing top 16 for Worlds at all, the points, if I earn any points at internats, those points basically go to waste. They're not going to matter to me at all. So, you know, it's mostly, do I want to go hang out with some guys, play some Pokemon, and maybe win some money? And is doing that worth spending a few $1,000s on travel? Because I usually don't skip on travel, you know, I want to be comfortable.
Of course.
Is that worth like a few $1,000s and like stressing myself out and playing those extra games? Rationally, I think the answer is no, but simultaneously this might be a golden opportunity, and maybe I just shouldn't waste that. So I'll decide tonight, I guess.
Yeah. So let's see. Where are you at on CP now after this event?
I'm at 232.
232 out of question marks. We are still in late July, folks. as of this video, we're still in late July.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to about wrap it up here. Rukan, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Since I forgot to shout out Poke Beach out of my interview on stream at Philly, I'm gonna shout them out first. I put out almost this exact list on my Poke Beach article a month before the event, and, you know, so shout out there. You can clearly get a lot of good information there, especially from me. Wink, wink. Check them out, and of course, shout out to Team DDG, my sponsors at DDG, and all of my teammates at DDG.
Of course, and for those of you at home watching, make sure you check out our Patreon, where you can get access to exclusive content for as little as $1 a month. And while you're at it, check out our website, rarecandytcg.com, to pick up some of our merchandise. And if you're looking to pick up some of the cards to build this deck, check out Flipside Gaming, and don't forget to use the promo code RareCandy to save 10% off your order.